We are about to talk about how far you can stretch without snapping. I'm here with Kathy Parry, and I'm Kimberly Ellison Taylor, chairman of the association. Now, I'll tell you, the first couple of times I said your name, Kathy, I kept wanting to say Katie. So do you hear that?
All the time, Katy Parry. But what I like to say from the very start is, I don't sing very well, and I've been accused of dancing like Elaine on Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah.
That shows our age.
Yes.
Completely showing our age.
Not the greatest.
Yes, how about that? So we're here to talk about resilience. And you did a session on resilience. And this is a great topic. So what does this mean? And I have all these rubber bands here. What does that mean?
Well, you know what's interesting about your rubber band ball? When we are stretched, you have to go back to your science lesson in physics.
Okay.
Before, when you're just like this,
okay,
you stretch. You're good. Your disruption is making you stretch. Is it a crisis? Is it an innovation within your industry? What is stretching you?
Okay.
When you get to this point, you're full of potential energy. That goes all the way back to the concept in physics. Now you're ready to really do something big. So I like to let people know that if you are stretched, something great can come out of that.
Really?
Yeah. We just aren't taught the steps to get there sometimes.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because at a couple of the sessions, we often joke about, if you want to do something, give it to a busy person.
Yeah.
And so we're sometimes like, I can't go for the next position. I can't step out for the next initiative. My plate is full. So you're saying that even when our plates are this full and we think there's not a single thing else we can do, that this is when the greatness and the magic is about to happen?
Well, it can if we're prepared. We can't do everything, you're right. You may have to, when you go through the steps, realize there's something to let go. So the steps that I teach are reacting. What's the first thing you're going to do? You might be sad. You might be frustrated. You might be angry. Mm-hmm. So those are all perfectly normal reactions to a disruption.
Okay.
But then what you're talking about, and this is where it gets good, is the reframing.
I see.
What am I going to do with it? I got all this stuff coming. What am I going to do? And I actually tell the story of my youngest daughter I was told she was going to live 2 years. Yeah. Yeah, so when something like that goes on your plate, that's kind of a disruption, right?
Oh my gosh.
In the worst way. Guess
Yes.
what? Everything else gets cleared off your plate.
Suddenly I'm available.
Suddenly you're available.
Yes.
That's the reframing.
What did you do?
Well, what I did is I got knowledge. I'm like, okay, that's what they're telling me. First, I'm going to have my reaction. I'm going to boo-hoo. I'm going to call people. I'm going to react. Then I got to reframe it. I got to change my mindset and say, I was never a speaker before this happened.
Are you kidding?
Now I'm a speaker.
You're natural.
I was a trainer. I was a trainer.
Okay.
I was a trainer for a financial institution, but I didn't go out. So I'm just saying, it can totally change as long as we're taught the steps to reframe. That's what I talk about.
Now, what are the other steps?
Well, it's react, reframe, and then re-energize. Because what does a rubber band do? After it's been stretched, it snaps back. But what's its purpose? Its purpose is to hold stuff. Put them in your hair, you hold stuff, put them around a binder.
I thought that was a trick question. So I was like, what is it? So in my mind, I was like, what is it? What is it?
Snaps the people.
How about that?
But its function is to hold things together. So the final phase in my methodology of becoming more resilient is to think, how is this crisis, this innovation, this disruption, how are you going to energize from it, and how is it going to hold you together as a person? So whether that be in your career, what's this going to do to hold you together? I like to use examples of sometimes we let fear get in the way. So
fear of like public speaking? Or
Fear of when your disruption comes into your,
I see.
To your life, soften your fear.
Yeah.
That's not going to, get you to the next step. So thinking about, I call it building a muscle. You have to build a muscle. Have you ever gone to physical therapy?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever get one of those bands?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I ripped my Achilles tendon, so I had to go to physical therapy. And in that, I had to learn to build the muscle back because it had atrophied. We don't know how to build a muscle sometimes against disruption. We aren't given, no one said, oh, you're going to have this special needs daughter and it's going to happen in 5 years and here's how you're going to handle it. No, we got to take the time to build the muscle.
And so what questions do you routinely get? What do people usually ask?
What I get is they want to know, it's very hard for most people to move beyond the reaction stage. You know, just in this time, I had someone come up, I had a son diagnosed with autism. My mother has breast cancer.
Yes.
These are a lot of personal disruptions, and sometimes we can't move through those because, as you said, we're busy with everything else.
Right.
So that's probably the number one thing I get is, how do I move beyond the reaction? And that's mindset work. So many of us have to learn the mindset work.
And so when you talk with people about resilience, is that a female or male? Is it a gender issue, or is it something we all struggle with?
We all struggle with it, absolutely. It's so funny, one of my slides in my presentation talks about the different type of reactors. So, you know, there's the drama king or queen, there's the stoic, there's the fixer, there's an optimist, there's a pessimist. I say what you have to do is honor whatever that reaction is. Men do react a little differently. Often they're fixers. So understanding that if you are in a disruptive environment, you may be processing completely different in that initial stage than your male counterpart. Honor it. Don't go, oh, he's so wrong, or she's saying, oh, well, she's so emotional. No, you have to honor that initial reaction. Then you move on to the reframing.
So when you were called out to be a speaker or a trainer, what are organizations hoping you're going to do for their employees?
The number one thing I can offer is a smooth transition. Don't we want that disruption, that new innovation, that new technology? I was the trainer who had to go in and deliver that. I was the one. I saw firsthand people were like, oh, we've got to have that new technology. I was on the merger acquisition team. It wasn't just about the new technology. It was about brand new everything.
So change management.
People management. Exactly. How can we transition through this and understand? Often we'd want to like kind of sweep that under the rug that, oh, you're just going to do it. We have to honor those reactions, and that people are going to feel something, and help them through with a methodology. So that's what
so what about the generations? Because I can see from what you've just said that generationally we would all respond differently. And so when my kids were younger, I have 2 teenage boys, when they would fall down, we would clap. And so I think, and I've said this in my presentations, we've forgotten how to clap.
Yeah.
Because when my kids would fall down on their own, they would just jump up and start clapping on their own without me. And I'm thinking, man, how did we lose that? Because as a child, we learn to be adventurous and fearless. And, you know, every parent has chased their kids through the department store, because then you're wondering, do they not realize all the dangers? But it's that joy of life and that ability to take on those new risks that don't seem to bother them.
Yeah. Well, you sound like an amazing mom, too.
Well, I try, but, you know, I've chased plenty of times my sons. And so I want them to have that resilience.
Right.
But is it a generational thing? So we've got the traditionalists and the baby boomers and Gen X, Gen Y, and Zs, but our influencers are different. And if you got a trophy, when you were like 10th place on the team, are you going to come with that resilience? What happens then?
That's what I was just going to bring that up. So we have raised maybe a generation or so where they haven't had that bad thing happen yet.
Right.
And everything I've heard, and I do work with emerging leaders and the young professionals. I didn't get my big disruption until I was in my late 30s. Sure, there'd been a few things go a little wrong, bumps in the road.
Right.
But really, some of that comes with age. But letting them know, hey, you may not have a crisis right now, and your career may be doing this, and you could get the next position, but it might be coming. So helping them prepare to know that it's normal. As you said, you fall down, clap. Hey, something doesn't go your way. You know, there are tools that you can use to get back. You can stretch and not snap.
Stretch and not snap. And I think that's really important too for college students, because we've heard of some high profile cases where college students didn't get the grades they wanted, and it wasn't well. So this talks about just making sure we can overcome those challenges and maintain our mental health.
Correct. Yes. And really just understanding that there are distinct, phases to it. You will move through those phases. Get yourself some tools. One of my things is round up your tribe. Get your tribe. And I don't mean your tribe that's always going to say, oh, yeah, that was bad.
We would say, get your village, get your ecosystem.
Exactly.
Whoever would tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear.
Right.
Get those people.
Right. And even not within your same profession, but in different areas. Right. So they have a different perspective and can help you through. So I had a lot of those people, and in my life now as a professional speaker, it's great. We all speak on different things, but we can come together and say, hey, you're not doing that quite right, or that's not working.
Oh, that's
you
nice.
Need those people.
That is nice. And I'll tell you, so this topic, among some of the others we've talked about on Facebook Live, is a part of the association's Human Intelligence series. And so we're going to be talking about topics like this on a more routine basis. And there are resources that I believe that will be very helpful to all of our members, both men and women, because I think what we've heard here is that resilience is a muscle that we need to really train ourselves to, respond more appropriately, faster, rapidly, but going through your 3 steps, and they are, once again, your steps.
Reacting, recharging, and re-energizing. And that is the stretch, the snap back, not the snap where you break, and the holding properties, what's going to hold you together.
Now, where can we get more information? If we want to know more about this topic.
Well, just go, my website is www.Kathy with a K and Parry with an A.
Not Katy Perry. Not Katy Perry.
Even if you search Kathy Parry spelled the correct way, you're going to get Katy Perry first. A lot of times. She's a lot bigger than I am.
But she won't know anything about the resilience.
She won't know anything about resilience.
Not this, for sure.
Yeah, KathyParry.com, and my books are on Amazon. So.
Thank you so much for all of your help and your guidance. I've learned a lot of how to respond and stretch without snapping. Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate it.